If you saw yesterday, I was walking the GW, the George Washington Bridge, for the first time, and it was beautiful. So I had to share it with my people, and I figured, you know what? That's kind of cheating because it's a bridge, you see the water, panoramic views, you know, of course it's gonna be beautiful. The skyline, but you can go deep into Brooklyn, New York and see beauty. Cinnamon! All the boroughs, really, you know. So, but we're here in Brooklyn now. I'm in Bushwick. I'm on Menahan and Bushwick Ave. So, just wanted to show you a couple things. What's beautiful about New York is, like I was mentioning, other places are beautiful because of the scenery. We have that as well, not so much, but for us, it's the history. And the history by way of things like not just the people, but the architecture. I'm gonna turn the camera around and show you what I'm talking about. You got your Ivy League thing here, your Ivy League situation. They're doing construction here, so let me get away. Of course, you have your graffiti. Take a walk with me. I want to show you these apartment buildings here. Look how beautiful. I mean, some people don't care about this, but you know, sometimes it's the small things in life and architecture. I mean, you know, you say a person's face is beautiful. Well, architecture is like the face of a building or the face of a neighborhood or the faces of a neighborhood. You have your cobblestone driveway. But these buildings right here, for me, are gorgeous. And we're gonna compare them to the modern style. Look at this. Let's look at this for a second. Now this is, I believe this will be considered Greek revival style. Look at the columns. Let me try to zoom in here so you can see. Look at the beauty in the detail. Look at that. Look above the door, right? Look. You see the roofs up there, how they arch. You have your tree here. And I love how the tree, it's like the tree is high. Everybody in New York. MJ, baby. PC is asking me MJ or LeBron. MJ. Shout out to LeBron, though. He's a very talented player, one of the best to ever do it. Feel like lately he's like a bit of a crybaby. We saw the footage. But yeah, definitely MJ. Definitely MJ. Plus, I'm not a big fan of the stances that LeBron has taken politically, but that's another story. So this tree, look, this tree is like high. So much weed is floating through the air in New York now that it's legal. And look how it's on a slant. This thing had a couple drinks. And you see how it's like leaning against the gate there. But yeah, I think these buildings are beautiful here. I want to see the detail. This one doesn't have columns, but the detail is just amazing. We're in Bushwick, Brooklyn right now. Just scoping out the architecture and the beauty of New York City, which gets a bad rap, and rightfully so. But I come to remind you that there is beauty here. Who can guard Steph? Good question. Man, I think Kyrie. Impressed with Kyrie. I don't like all his views either, but I think Kyrie is a monster with the rock. As far as defense, I couldn't tell you right now. I don't want to get into a full-fledged conversation on basketball, which really baseball is kind of my sport. But I do watch basketball, football, but I'm also a baseball guy. Neighborhood I grew up in, El Barrio, East Harlem, it's a baseball community. Stickball and baseball. I grew up playing baseball, but yes. Knicks all the way. Hoping the Knicks can do it. Be patient. I just want to take you to this next block over here, which the architecture, I'll turn the camera around. I want to take you to this next block over here, Linden, where the architecture is so beautiful. It was granted historic district status. And again, people sleep on stuff like this. Some people are like, I don't care, whatever. You know, to me, I love this stuff. You know, it's, again, beauty in life. We see beauty in people, beauty in nature. There's also beauty in man-made things, such as artwork. And is not architecture a part of artwork? And at one point in time, they were doing architecture not just for function like they're doing now, but also for beauty. Check this out. I'm on Linden Street and Bushwick Ave in Bushwick, Brooklyn. And this block, the architecture is so beautiful, they just granted it historic status. I want to show you this. Now, in New York City, when they do that, they change the street signs to brown. Normally, they're green. Look, I'll show you. Here, as you can see. See that? Linden Street Historic District. This is one of the buildings here. Well, you can't see because of the sun. Let me go in the block so you can see this. Might have to cross the street 1 second. Spring is here, tree-lined Brooklyn Street. Can't beat that. But look. Here we go. These are the row houses, or rather, like, not really row buildings, and they're kind of like brownstones, but different somewhat, a little more ornate. Now, keep in mind, and you can see the block is like this. Let me try to go up closer so you can really see. These buildings were primarily built in the late 1800s when the immigration was at an all-time high. You had the Irish escaping the Irish potato famine. They were flooding in. Then you had the Italians flooding in, Jews flooding in. So they built many of these, what you call row houses, to house the people, the immigrants that were coming to America to escape their native countries for whatever reason. Now you look at a building like this, right? This was built a little later. This is like not attractive at all, really. It's still better than a lot of the modern buildings, but it doesn't compare to like this. When you look at the detail, look at the roof. They say the devil's in the details. Look at the roof, you can see. I'll zoom in a little bit. Look at the detail. They took time to do this. Look at that. Look at the detail. And again, because of these buildings, this was granted historic status. And you can see how they line the block. Look how beautiful. Look at the symmetry, not symmetry, but you know, the uniform look that it has. And you have many, many blocks like this in Brooklyn, in the Bronx, some in Queens, but not so much because Queens is more so suburban. Check out the old sign here. It's like a hand-painted sign. That's borderline graffiti style right there. Stay off rocks? What rocks are we talking about? Because there aren't too many rocks that I deal with. Look at this across the street here. Look at that. This is the beauty of New York. Look at this. And see, this is here home ownership, because you see how they take care of their living space. Hello. Hello. Look how beautiful. So you see that, you see the detail. Okay, zooming on the roof here. You see the detail. That people took their time to do this. Now let me show you this. One sec. I want to show you this. Now let's look at a modern building that they're building right now as we speak. Look at the difference. Look at this building. Ugly in comparison, plain, like just totally functional. Look, totally functional. Just bricks and window, that's it. And you know how much they're gonna charge? And they're gonna be living right next to a train. That's the J train there. So I don't know if they're gonna like soundproof the apartments, but look at the difference. And this may look decent to you, but when you look at the older buildings, you see the difference. So what is happening? Look at that. So what is happening in society that it's like we're devolving almost. Because, and that's the thing with technology, because on one hand, technology of course helps. I love technology. I'm not a Luddite, I'm not against technology, you know, but it has its drawbacks. Because it makes us less likely to go that extra mile to create beauty. It's like, you know what? It's like, you know what? We gotta watch our spending. Let's just build bare minimum. But they had to spend back in the day, but they still did it for some reason. Why was it important? They still had budgets back in the day when they were building these buildings. You know, so why was it that it was so important to them to take the time to make things so ornate? Look at that. Look at this finial. This finial right here, right? They could have easily just put a column here, but they didn't. They didn't. They easily could have just put a column here, but they took the time to carve out these designs in this post here. Look at the banister. Look at the door. The pigeons chilling up there. Look at that. It just has character. Look at that. They didn't have to do that. So I asked him, and I want you to tell me your thoughts in the comments. Why do you think they did it? Why would they take the time to do this? And why was it that after long periods of time passed, we stopped doing this? And it's the obvious answer, like, oh, because why spend the time and the money to do that when you actually don't need it? But I would argue that you do need it, but the necessity is not totally obvious. And for me, the answer is that it does matter when you're around beauty. For instance, if you're in a room that's just in disarray, clothes thrown all over the place, maybe soda cans, beer cans, maybe, a blanket on the floor, and you would be there, it wouldn't necessarily stress you out, but it does have a subtle effect on your mood and can dictate the course of your day, perhaps even the course of your week. Now, on the flip side, imagine you were in a room that was just beautiful. Doesn't even have to be super ornate, but imagine just a nice lamp, things were in their place, it wasn't a bunch of clutter, the lighting was nice, just very simple. Doesn't take money. And it does play a part. It does. This is why it is important to make your surroundings beautiful, because it reflects what's going on within you and how you're reacting to the world and your mood and your motivation and your enthusiasm. This is why people take walks in the park. This is why they make parks. This is why they construct things like parks, things like monuments. Think about it. Why would you make a monument? If that's the case, why would you spend the money to build a monument? If that's the case, right? You don't really need it, right? You don't really need it. But then again, maybe you do. I want to give a shout out to everybody. Oh, by the way, yesterday I meant to shout out my guy, Thomas Melendez, TMJ. I appreciate your support, and thank you to everyone who tunes in and supports the channel. A lot more stuff on the way. If you would like to support even further, you can do so on Cash App or Venmo. That's Will Flores TV. Let's keep making history.